Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah. Pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak. And now, there's a lot of things out there you probably want to know real quick about how some things out there tend to work. But another thing that I'd probably want to cover up real quick are processors. I'm mainly talking about graphic processors, or types of processors that would typically work on certain things that we commonly use, like laptops or smart devices. Processors, of course, are probably one of the biggest components ever needed to have a device work. If it's not available, then just like with a brain being unavailable in any animal's body, we would die. Without a brain, we'd die. Without a processor, a device would die. It's as simple as that. But I'm mainly going to talk about processors because of how they evolved through the years, based on graphics and bits. And of course, what James D. Rolfe knows as the bit wars during the early to mid 90s, especially with the advent of how better the graphics seem to have been getting throughout the 90s, processor units have really been trying to punch out the best bit rate capabilities. And the bits they would generate would be 8 bits, 16 bits, 32 bits, 64 bits. That would pretty much be about it, because even in today's time, we still have 64-bit graphic processing units, which actually sounds quite absurd. Because even though we have been progressing up towards the bit scale, especially throughout the 90s, it still hasn't really gotten any higher, which is quite frankly strange, to be honest. And the fact that I do see a lot of things out there happen with all of this, it's really quite a really big subject out there that I really do hope to have such good mind towards. And now that I do have some other things around here, it's really no wonder just how graphics themselves have evolved throughout the 90s, and yet they have stayed the same for 20 years. At least 20 years. Nintendo 64 really showed us how 64-bit graphics would look compared to an Atari Jaguar. And yeah, of course the Atari Jaguar was already pretty much well known for not being such a good 64-bit console, but yeah. There's a lot of other things that go on besides just having 64-bit units out there. But the thing that we have ourselves wrapping our minds around is the fact that, well, processor units of all sorts, no matter what kind that you use, it's really kind of a big selection. Any laptop can come pre-equipped with them, but depending on how well they run, depending on how the bit rate seems to work, and how, it all seems to work down well, the quality, the picture, and the like, any kind of processor would work in ways that, well, it kind of just varies depending on how it's constructed or how it's built. And I personally just don't have much problems with how any processor mine have worked, but the processors of all sorts, they seem to come in different ways. It kind of just makes you a bit confused at first. But at first, when you probably just get used to the one that you have, you probably feel satisfied with it at first, because that's just what these companies are in fact trying to do. They will in fact try to make you happy whenever possible. Depending on the usage of these processors and the like, it's not at all too big of a thing out there that we probably worry about, but it's still something out there I would want to touch up on even more. But considering the fact that there's still a lot of other things out there that I want to continue talking about, I might as well just save my breath for the next episode. And so, if you want to see more go down on my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.